first. Okay. Thank you, Jeff. This month is Mental Health Month, and so we're kicking it off tonight with PTSD. But next Monday, not next Tuesday, because we corporate had a call. Next Monday, we're actually going to be doing addictions, and then the following 2 Tuesdays we'll be doing anxiety and depression, and really just giving people strategies that are so needed, Dr. Prasad. As I did a deep dive today, and as a biochemist and really looking at your work, I just sat back and I wrote you that today. I'm in really awe of your body of work, because I think tonight's call really is going to put all of the pieces together for
Yes.
people to get to see the current science, your body of work, and where we are right now, and that people on here are going to leave here with hope and strategies. And it's going to just, I think, really change the face of mental health and PTSD. That's just my opinion after looking at all the things we covered today. So why don't we start with, let me see. We're going to start with a picture of, you sent me a couple of things today, and I'd pulled some of that research up too, but we're going to pull up a really cool picture. And this is going to be, for those of you that don't know this, here's a picture of Dr. Prasad. When was this taken, Dr. Prasad, with Linus Pauling? Where was this taken?
It was in Buenos Aires, in Argentina. There was a cancer meeting, and we were both invited to be there. And so by the time I published my work on vitamin C, so he has sponsored it for my work on the PNAS, on vitamin C and how it kills cancer cell, but not normal cell. People at that time was criticizing him that he's crazy and so on and so forth. But I didn't think that was the truth. And so he was impressed by that finding, and probably he was instrumental for me to get invited in that meeting. It was international meeting on cancer.
Well, we wanted to start there. Let me stop share here. And because the current approaches that have been out there have been a single micronutrient approach, and or looking at one aspect metabolically, Dr. Prasad. And so Dr. Prasad's approach is a multi-micronutrient approach, and he was the first to do it. And now tonight, where the pieces get put together, you're going to see why it's so important. So let's go ahead and start with a little bit. I'll take you down memory lane, Dr. Prasad. So we've got a few research papers, but I want people to know on here that Dr. Prasad has been published well over, if you go to ResearchGate, 303 times, but on many topics of cancer, of diabetes, of neurological diseases. But tonight on PTSD, really a fundamental topic we have to talk about, because there's not been a lot of success. Okay, but that's going to change. That's changing right now. And so Dr. Prasad is an expert of PTSD. So we're going to walk through a few of his, let me see, the very first paper. What did I put up here? Here we go. Desktop share. Oh, if I can get to it. Give me just a second, guys. I apologize. I'm going to stop share. Okay, I'll pull that up. So Dr. Prasad has one book that he wrote in 2015. This is one of the first textbooks that I got. And for those of you that are health professionals, you need this book. This book is an incredible book. It's chapter 6 of this book. This really walks you through the mechanism of action and his body of work up to 2015 on PTSD. So this is first textbook, and then he actually published a paper in 2015. And let's see if I can pull it up again. Let me try it one more time. I have a lot of studies up, so I apologize if I have to pull some things down real quick to get to it. I have a lot of things up, Dr. Prasad, preparing
I
for this
know.
call tonight. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
Yeah.
So this is the 2015 paper that you also sent me that I had up. Why don't you walk us through this paper that was published March of 2015 regarding the biochemical defects and mild TBI and post-traumatic brain injury?
Yeah, I think this is very important because, as you know, the current treatment of a PTSD is based on the symptoms, not on the causes. And so my concern was that first we have to deal with what causes PTSD. And as you know, all kind of acute stress, and especially with our veterans and even civilian, for example, car accident and somebody dies in the family, they can develop. But most frequently, it is noticed in the veterans who are exposed to traumatic experience in the war zone. And so, doing research, we found out that the main culprit that causes damage due to exposure of various stressor is the increased oxidative stress, which occurs when the amount of free radical produced in your body exceeds your own defense system. And our own defense system is antioxidant defense system and endocannabinoid defense system that not many people have emphasized it. But so these are two defense systems, and if free radicals takes over all these protective effect of these defense systems, we call them oxidative stress. When that happens, then oxidative damage to the cell occurs. And when that occurs, then immune system have a chance to repair it. But if they cannot repair fully oxidative stress-induced damage, then chronic inflammation sets in motion. And then chronic inflammation produces additional free radicals, pro-inflammatory cytokines, complement proteins, many kinds of toxic chemicals. So these two are the central causes of PTSD. People have to understand that this is very important. And so I think so then treatment should be that based on what agent can reduce the oxidative stress and inflammation. I don't think at this moment anybody is considering the reducing oxidative stress. To my knowledge, I read some paper and other things. They're not considered for the treatment. They're not considering any efforts to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation by any other medications, drug or anything. And but our approach has been that if these are the main culprits, main causes, then how we can reduce it? And people have tried to reduce it, but initial effort was, like Joanette mentioned, a single antioxidant. In a complex system like brain, a single antioxidant, the cell has a both water type of environment, aqueous environment, and also fat-soluble environment. So suppose you give vitamin E, they can protect only lipid environment, not the 80% of the cell are water, aqueous, and therefore it can't work. And they tried it and it didn't work. And the same thing is true if you vitamin C, it can protect only in the water portion of the aqueous portion of the cells, but not the lipid portion. So I don't know why they tried single antioxidant in any kind of clinical study, but as you know, many studies have been performed, including heart disease, cancer, and so on and so forth. And so we decided right in the beginning that this is a very poor approach. And therefore, we developed initially a micronutrient, and that actually led to the development of microdaily that we tested, as you know. And so our efforts have been that how we can improve it, the treatment, because we can't now prevent because this is already occurring. And so if we can reduce oxidative stress and inflammation, at least they will block any progression of further damage. And I will give you a few examples that how, in my experience, that people with PTSD has derived benefit. And so, and then, for example, current treatment of PTSD, most frequently, one of the major drug that is used for they use also psychotherapy, they call it. But psychotherapy is very good, but it is not very effective. In some cases, they can improve some of this, your behavior and so on, but you have to influence the brain function biochemically. And psychologically, yeah, it is important part. I would not disagree with that, but not enough. And so, for example, the major drug, one of the major drug that is used is serotonin reuptake inhibitor. And there are 3-4 drugs under the same function. But of course, it has a side effect, but it improves some of the symptoms, at least for some time. But see, this does not affect oxidative stress, so the disease continue to progress because you have not affected that. And so serotonin uptake, you calm you down, symptoms, you are not as much aggressive and so on and so forth. This is important. But we have in our program approach is a two agents who can do this. One is of course, as you know, call it the CBD. CBD is very important. See, actually acts as a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. Not only that, but it has another function which further increase the level of a synthesis of serotonin, because it directly stimulates the serotonin receptor, which inhibitor of serotonin reuptake inhibitor does. It simply prevents the metabolism, the destruction of serotonin, so that it doesn't get picked up by the cell and destroyed. But this one not only acts as an inhibitor of serotonin reuptake, but also increases their synthesis. So you can see we have a double advantage of using this one. And
I'm going to pull up your CBD paper while you're talking about it. So I'm going to get that. Okay.
Yeah.
And Jet, Shiloh's here.
Yeah.
I saw that, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Here you go, Dr. Prasad. This is your 2020 paper you wrote.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this was very interesting. That CBD does so many things that none of the drug currently used. It also increases the dopamine level. So as you know, dopamine level makes you happy. So serotonin makes you calm and quiet, and dopamine makes you happy. None of the currently used drug can do that. They can do one component, namely inhibit the reuptake of serotonin, because if it gets inside the cell, they will get destroyed gradually. And so, but this was very important paper that we have it, and we mentioned their CBD, but recently we came across another agent, which is not directly acting as a reuptake inhibitor, is omega-3 fatty acid. Omega-3 fatty acid, see, for the activation of endocannabinoid system, you require a like CBD receptor, endocannabinoid receptor 1, receptor 2. But you see, this is important paper, and the reason is because omega-3 fatty acids directly activate endocannabinoid receptor 1 and receptor 2. Generally, their activation requires their own endogenous ligand, like anandamide, and another is 2-AG, is a big name. I can't pronounce that name. And so, so 2-AG. So they require activation, but in this case, omega-3 directly act as the endogenous anandamide, and so they directly, and then receptor mediated happens, but they cannot be acting they cannot act as an inhibitor of serotonin reuptake. They can stimulate the formation of new serotonin, and so that is a very interesting, that combination of, say, for example, that's why we have multiple approach. A combination of CBD and all the core 4 we have, including omega-3, would be perfect.
I wanted to bring up this textbook for everybody on here, that for you health professionals that don't have, this is the textbook you have to have right here, this micronutrient and health. It's thin, But chapter 12 of this book, Dr. Prasad goes through in great detail the mechanism of action and strategies, including omega-3, and talking about glutamate and many aspects, and very detailed. So if people want to know more, like that next layer, we might give like a highlight on this optimal longevity. Just know it's all right here. And I have it turned to this chapter 12, and I was going through. And what's so awesome, Dr. Prasad, is that when you wrote this book in 2019, we didn't have our omega-3 product yet.
No, we
you
didn't have
still
omega.
cited. You
Yeah,
cited it. Mhm.
omega-3, we didn't have a probiotics, so I have not issue. Probiotics is another very important,
Yes.
because for PTSD or for any disease, it is very important. And the reason is because the composition of bacteria, if you have a disease or if you are getting young or old, if you have young and disease, then you will have a composition of bacteria changes in favor of toxic chemicals. They started producing a pro-inflammatory cytokines, other kind of toxic chemicals, and they absorbed from the gut, and then you have a problem. So intestinal biosis is extremely important for PTSD. And how do we correct it? Well, only one and only way you can correct it, give a appropriate type of probiotics. And that is, we have probiotics. With prebiotics, we have that Dr. Kort is displaying, and that will reverse the composition of bacteria from the harmful to beneficial bacteria. And then they're producing all kind of beneficial effect, which is very important for your brain. And if an intestine becomes healthy, it prevents any entry of infection or any kind of thing in your bloodstream, because inner wall of the intestine is highly protected if your intestine is healthy by probiotics. And so this is very important to remember. And so currently, I would say that if you, in addition to whatever doctor recommends medication, I would recommend a Kort 4, which has a micronutrient, the EMF. And by the way, EMF radiation, I want to give credit to Dr. Kort and you, because initially Micro Daily was modified because of two of you, because you brought up the issue of EMF radiation, which can also not contribute it, but aggravate it, participate in the progression of PTSD and many other kind of neurological issues. And so we developed it and added 4 additional ingredients. So I want to give a credit to you, because these 4 ingredients, curcumin, resveratrol, quercetin, and green tea extract, we added because they directly protect against the EMF radiations. And we knew other one will protect too, by adding this further enhance their capability to protect not only ionizing radiation, but also EMF or non-ionizing radiation.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad. So I want to, that was a lot. And so I want to back up to the microbiome real quick for people on here, and then we're going to actually share a couple testimonies.
Sure.
But Dr. Prasad, when I pulled up that 2016 paper about microbiome, is it the key? And at the very end, it said the future will be a probiotic that will pinpoint and address some of the areas that are deficient. And because I measure fecal samples, I have seen many fecal tests that are devoid of bifidobacterium completely, or lactobacillus strains that are directly linked to dysbiose for PTSD. But one of the papers that I don't know if I sent it to you today or I mentioned it.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, the C. diff, Clostridium difficile, we've seen a lot of fecal tests that they're out of normative range, but they're asymptomatic, which means if they had a big stressful event, these individuals would get C. diff.
Yes.
But what was fascinating is that the C. diff was highly related to PTSD, Dr. Prasad.
Mm-hmm.
And so the cases, like it was statistically significant. And
Sure.
in that particular paper, they talked about S. boulardii being actually a treatment
Mhm.
for that.
Yeah.
So for those of you not on this phone that may not know a lot about the microbiome, it really is, you know, a lot of those bacteria make our building blocks. They make the tryptophan to make serotonin. They should be making them, but we're lacking them. And RF radiation and bad bugs, like Dr. Kort wanted, I know you wanted to say this, the bad bugs love RF radiation, which can also contribute to the dysbiose. But what's exciting is this masterfully crafted probiotic. It's different than anything else out there. And it has bifidobacterium strains, lactobacillus strains, it has bacillus spore. So it's genius that they can get through the acidic and the harsh heat environment, and then the S. boulardii. But what Dr. Prasad did is he didn't skimp on the prebiotics, which are the food for each one of the probiotics. And when you have the food and the strains and you put them together, they're called symbiotics. And this product, one capsule, could change the life of so many people. And I know when I read this paper and I was like going, this is it, because he provided that solution. But it's not just the microbiome, like Dr. Prasad said. It really is this work that he already outlined in chapter 12 of this book that needs, that are the solutions. So we have a few people on this call that have been on your product that have struggled with PTSD and a lot of trauma, Dr. Prasad. So I'm going to hand the call over to Dr. Kort, and we're going to have him go ahead and bring on our special guest. Jeff, if you could please spotlight Shiloh Harris and Miss Mary Sunshine would be great. And Dr. Kort, why don't you go ahead and let's hear from these people that are benefiting from the product.
Well, Joanette, I love the fact that you went through that so beautifully, and high altitude, like you two always do. It's such a pleasure to just be a passenger and watch that happen as you just meticulously unfolded study after study. It was amazing to sit here and watch that. But, as you were speaking, I'm thinking, this is the approach that I've taken in medicine, the multimodal approach. And when we're looking with EMF and when we're looking with PTSD, it's not one thing. Just like you said, regarding Linus, it's not one thing, it's multimodal. And I just love the way that you brought all that back, and it was just beautiful. Well, let's see. I think we have, we bring up Shiloh and Miss Mary Sunshine to the forefront. Jeff, are you available to do that for me?
See if I can spotlight them.
They both have to open up there we go. There's Mary Sunshine.
And you need to both open up your microphones, please.
And we're just going to spotlight them with us. Hello, Mary Sunshine.
Hi, how are you?
And
Well,
we are
thank you.
spectacular. And Staff
So-
Sergeant retired Shiloh Harris, thank you. When I finally got a hold of him, he's like, I'm pulling into the driveway.
Jeff,
So
can you please take me off so we can get Dr. Prasad on there? Can we take me off? Thank you. Okay.
So, time-wise, Shiloh, are you okay for time?
Yeah, I got a few more minutes.
Okay.
I
Mary,
literally just got home, so yeah, I mean, we've been unpacking and everything, but we'll get into that in a minute.
well, let's pull up Shiloh first. Then I'm going to just spotlight you for 15 minutes, and then we're going to bring in Mary, and then we're going to button this thing up like a beautiful package. I'd like to introduce everybody to my friend Shiloh Harris, Staff Sergeant. Shiloh, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, and why do you suffer from PTSD?
Well, I think that'll come with the a little bit about myself. But yeah, Russ has heard my story, and anyway, so I'll kind of give everybody the condensed version here. But joined the military after 9/11. I knew well what was going to happen. If I joined the military, I knew that I was going to end up going to combat, because that's really why I joined. Felt like it was a calling. Because my dad and my grandfather both served. Well, my first deployment was great. I had a second deployment, and on that second deployment, I was injured by a roadside bomb. And anyway, the bomb, it was probably about 700 pounds explosives. Needless to say, I'm injured from head to toe. I got a laundry list and of injuries and stuff, but I still have been very blessed and to have a wonderful recovery. I'm very active. And anyway, so I met Russ a while back, and then yes, he's been trying to get me to try this product. But to be 100% honest, and I was 100% honest with Russ is as veterans, especially as somebody as high visible as me, because I'm a speaker and stuff like that. I mean, people want to push everything to me. And they're like, here, try this, and everything's great. And I've even had people put my name on products that, I mean, I literally just tried once and I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm like, no, you got to take my name off that. I don't know you got that well. But one of the things that convinced me was, first of all, and I mean this to be a growth tool. Russ was kind about it. He was understanding about it, and and many times empathetic about my situation because I'm on the road, and plus he knows I get targeted, and plus all these factors, and he was just kind. And at times, I was like, "Holy crap! I know I like this guy, but I think I love him now." And I was like, "You can't really be lying to me if I love him, right?" Anyway, but yeah, I've tried the product now for I guess for about 3 weeks now. I've honestly kind of lost track of time. I'm in a season, obviously, November 11th. We got Veterans Day coming up. So for the other veterans out there, I do want to say thank you for your service. Now, as I said, I've been very blessed, and so far, this is no joke, and it happened naturally. So my mom, she works with me. And anyway, she knows that I've already been state to state to state and just unpacking and packing up and anyway, she was surprised that I had so much energy because she's like, damn, I know you not to say that I was out of shape, but we had a hot summer. We didn't do a lot during this hot summer. And on top of that, I've been, I guess you could say, on a forced sabbatical since our unexpected break a few years ago in 2019. Now, things are just now coming back for me. And yeah, I'm just feeling energized. I mean, it's like last night was a magnificent night and I should have been tired because it was a late event. But I mean, and so my mom noticed, and then this morning she was like, "How are you doing this?" She's like, "Man, you're just running circles around everybody." And anyway, I said, "Well, I said that's stuff that I've been taking." And anyway, she tried it this morning, and I just asked her before I came on the call how she felt. And the first time she was like, "I felt better." She was like, "I had a lot of energy when I thought I'd be tired," and she felt like she was a little sharper today. Whereas, she feels like she gets tired easier. And my mom, she told me she would always be 35, but I'm pretty sure she's lying. She might be like in her 60s and maybe getting close to 70. So anyway, don't tell her I said that because she's 35 forever. Anyway, but yeah, that's my story so far, and that's my testimony, and I'm really excited. I guess you could say I'm getting more excited as I'm taking it, and the more I'm involved in this, and I want to get it to my friends, and I plan on getting it to my friends. It just takes me a little time to build up trust, and I hope that everybody can understand that from my standpoint. Because it's not just people shoving stuff at me, but I have trust issues. I do have PTSD, as we were talking about earlier, and the PTSD probably isn't necessarily one of my biggest handicaps in terms of, things that could limit me. Uh, Yet it is a factor that I have to be aware of literally each and every day because triggers happen unexpectedly. Even if you stay on a cycle, which is sometimes how PTSD works, if you don't have a lot of agitators, you just kind of have this cycle that you have this rhythm of when you're upset and when you're low and when you're high. And it's just a roller coaster. And then when you have these triggers pop in every now and then unexpectedly, it can cause people just to spiral out of control, which has happened to me. And, and it happens to a lot of veterans. So if I can feel this good on a regular basis, it kind of helps balance me out. I really feel like, I mean, I'm already talking like I'm trying to be skeptical yet. I mean, I'm trying to see how it works with my PTSD. and see, the benefits there, because I think that's going to be a stronger testimony for me when I do start approaching my friends and be like, look, man, I've legitimately been taking this for 3 months. I feel like I'm on track, whatever the case is. So again, that's my story. I appreciate you guys being patient and letting me talk. And I'll turn it back over to you, Russ.
Well, Shiloh, I had a couple of questions for you because for everybody on this call, Shiloh is like one of the busiest people I know. Every time I call him, he's in a different state, and it could be the same day. I mean, he's flying here and flying there. And especially in the month of November, this is like a super crazy time for him because he's in such high demand as a public speaker, and he's also a comedian. And we're hoping to get you some shows there in Texas and get to come and see him. But the other day,
Junior comedian, I'm still learning. I'm
all
still
right.
learning.
Well, the other day when you and I were speaking, we were talking about, and I was thinking about this. You were talking about how cigarette smoke and smoke in bars and things really affect you. And I was thinking, why would that be? And I suspect maybe it was from the blast injury affecting your throat and your lungs and just everything where that blast happened. Is that accurate?
Man, that is actually really good. I remember telling you that I felt like my lungs were potentially, getting sore, and I don't even know how to describe it, but it's like I get this cycle, as I said a minute ago, about PTSD, but there's also this cycle with my health. I did have burn inhalation from the blast, and I have a lot of scar tissue on my lung. Although they're regenerative, so they said that it may never regenerate, and most likely it wouldn't because it's just damaged too bad. And so, anyway, oh man, I forgot. Oh, the
Tell us
lung.
about when this last place that you were at and there was all these people smoking, and what was your effect on that? Because that had never happened before.
Yeah, no, that was perfect. Yeah, thank you for putting me back on track. But yeah, so I went to Cleveland, Ohio, and then back down to Canton. Well, there was snow on the ground, but it was already melting. And so I got there and it was pretty cool, cold enough, I wouldn't want to be around cigarette smoke because the two could probably make me sick pretty fast. But the event was, by the time the event happened, it was hot and everybody was smoking. I mean, these are a lot of veterans, and a lot of veterans smoke still. And I always joke with them. I'm like, dude, look what happened to me the last time I was smoking. You don't want to do that. And anyway, it's like they're all like, yeah, whatever. But anyway, I just feel like, yeah, all that stuff. I can feel my lungs burning. Like, I get pneumonia really easy. And almost every time of this year, I get sick because of the temperature, cigarette smoke, especially for at events. And anyway, so yeah. And I was telling him that, and I didn't have to do some of my usual stuff, but I never got sick. So, and then I was back to Texas, and then back to Ohio, and then Houston, and even Houston's got a different temperature than, San Antonio and Dallas. So, just challenging.
And you have to be
I,
so careful too with your immune system, especially traveling on aircraft. And like you and I talked about with the EMF in an aircraft, because you're in the Faraday cage with 300 other people and they all have a cell phone and most of them have a laptop and everybody has an iWatch. And then you've got all the computers in the cockpit, and all that can have an effect on you. But how have you been feeling in the planes and with your huge travel schedule?
well, first of all, man, I've had so much energy. I mean, I just feel good, and so far it's been really level too. Even if I miss, because I know you recommended I take two a day, and I've been staying on that pretty true. But I think I missed 1 or 2 days and didn't even really notice, man. But I think it was a little bit, slower in the evenings. But I mean, for the most part, though, I was still able to keep going. Wasn't
Just so
even
you
an issue.
know, just so you know, brother, I didn't recommend it. The guy that's above you in the picture, he's the one who recommended it. He's the one who did
Oh,
the 6 years of
oh, okay,
studies
yeah,
and research, and he said this is what you have to do. But
yeah.
in tying this up, is there anything you'd like to say to Dr. Prasad?
Man, Dr. Prasad, I do want to say thank you, of course. And I guess more importantly is, instead of dropping the project, and just kind of letting it go like, well, I got paid and everything's done, you're really trying to make the effort to get it where it was intended for, which I greatly appreciate. But again, I joined the military for my community. So this isn't just for veterans. I mean, this is for everybody. And so thank you very much for making that happen. I feel like this is going to help a lot of people.
Can I make one comment about the smoking? Smoking, if you have a breathe smoking, either you yourself or you are secondhand smoking, this can also dramatically increases the oxidative stress in your body.
Yep.
That's one. And also, the smoke coming out from cigarette has a tiny amount of alpha radiation. And alpha radiation is 20 times more damaging than X-ray or gamma ray. So you can
Wow.
see the combination of that can cause lung damage like you are experiencing, not from only oxidative damage, but also it has a tiny amount of alpha radiation, which is, as I said, alpha radiation is 20 times more effective than X-ray or gamma ray. So it is a deadly. And even the people are educated, don't smoke, but smoking people, it is impossible to change human behavior. So then what is the best next thing you can do? Trying to reduce them, because you can't change their habit. No matter how much you preach, but some of them may hear what you say, you have to say. And if you are addicted, it is not easy to give up overnight. But still, what you can do at the same time, trying to get rid of a smoking habit, that take an alternative like we have proposed, which will reduce oxidative stress, protect against any kind of ionizing radiation, what is alpha or X-ray or gamma ray or EMF radiation. So I just wanted to mention, when you mention your experience with tobacco smoking, it is deadly.
Yeah, no, I want to say again, thank you for that too, because that's a very good reminder. People ask me all the time, what was one of the best things I ever did in my life? And, sometimes I say it jokingly because I'm a burn survivor, but, it's the truth. I quit smoking. I quit smoking in Iraq, honestly, because of my first deployment. I was like, I really only smoked when I drank, if I went out with my buddies or something. And it's like I was a social smoker. And unless we started drinking, and then, I was like, I'd smoke and smoke and smoke. And so I was like, what, we're going to Iraq. You can't drink there. So I think I'm going to quit smoking. And I did. Even when we had some big incident happen, I'd be like, no, no, it's okay. I'm doing good. Because I mean, we were all hyper vigilant over there so much. And I think that's another agitator that creates PTSD,
Yes,
is
it
being so
contributes to,
hyper
yeah,
vigilant all the
yes,
time,
and
and
progression.
caffeine and bad diet, because you're drinking, lots of caffeine to stay awake and stay up on duty. You're eating fatty foods and sugars and stuff. And I didn't really pay that much attention to it when I was younger, but as I'm getting older, of course, I got to pay attention to it. And so, yeah, I try to watch what I eat. And but yeah, man, this has been really good. I can already feel myself trimming up also. I mean, just naturally, as the way I feel about it. So yeah, it's been great.
Well,
Good, thank you.
Shiloh, you're going to be lean and mean in no time. And I just want to tell you, well, Dr. Prasad was talking about that. I was thinking about something you could say in your comedy shows, and that is, if I see you smoking, I'm going to assume you're on fire, and I'm going to take appropriate measures to put you out. You could just have a fire extinguisher, a water bottle, or squirt guns, and
Oh, wait a minute. We
add
got
that to your
60
show.
witnesses. You'd probably sue me for plagiarism one of these days. Just
All right,
kidding.
my friend.
No, it's
Well,
good,
thank
man.
you. Thank you so
Dr.
much for
Kort,
being on. Yes, ma'am.
well, we want to just say we're going to be seeing Shiloh in Tyler, Texas, 26th and 27th of November. And
Yeah.
he will be there at our big event. So we'll see you then, buddy. And thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys very much too.
Appreciate
And
you getting
Russ,
on the line with
you
us.
guys, Mary, great seeing you guys. Anyway, everybody else, sorry, I gotta go. I can see
Love you,
that
buddy.
everybody's like, come on.
Okay.
You have a
Y'all
good
have a
night.
great night.
Thank you
Right.
so much. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Woo! Well, Mary, I know you're going to bring it home with this one, because you are equally magnificent, and just so blessed. I met you, Jet, and I met you at a sound conference, and we came in because we had Kaizen with us, and we sat in the back, and you were up sitting in the front, and you got up and you talked about the most heart-wrenching story. And you just relax. You can do this. But you told us one of the most amazing stories that I've ever heard. And that's only part of your story and your journey. I know it. We don't have enough time to go through everything, but you just share what you want about what your struggles with PTSD are, and they're very real, and you just do whatever you want to talk about. And then I want you to please share, like Shiloh did, about what changes have you seen? Because we met you about 6 weeks ago, and Shiloh came on shortly after that. Tell us your story, please.
Okay, so, well, I've seen a lot of major changes that, when I met you, I was really in this funk of, am I going to be able to do this? Because let me start off with, I am running a business. I am in school to be a naturopathic doctor, and I'm doing my master's right now.
Yeah, so you did your bachelor's, your master's, and your PhD. And you're doing it all at the same time.
Yes. So, when I registered, I had gone from Texas to Colorado for about 10 months. And, starting back as a child, I had childhood abuse. I grew up in a family of addiction, lost many people to addiction in my family. My sister has been a savior for all of us. She kept all 5 of us kids together. God bless her. I was sitting there taking my neurological exam July 10th of 2022, and I can feel it as I talk about it. I received a phone call from my ex-husband. Come now, our son Mitchell is gone. And I just, what? And I just heard his girlfriend screaming in the background. He was in a motorcycle accident. You have to come now. He's gone. So I proceeded to drop to the floor for a few minutes, called my brother. He came back from Lindale, Texas, picked me up. He was about a half hour away from me. And he said, you've got to get up off the floor. You've got to pack, and you got to get to New York. So I got to New York the next morning. He was not gone. He had passed for 33 minutes in the motorcycle accident. He was completely unrecognizable. My son Colin, who's a year older than him, I have 5 sons, and he picked me up from the airport, and he was driving erratically. And I said, you need to slow down. I'm not in any hurry to get to the morgue. And I lost it. And he pulled over and said, Mom, do you not know he's alive? And I said, what? He said, he is alive. He's on life support. There's hope. So I said, okay, drive normal. Let's get to the hospital. And we got there, and he wasn't in the room. And they said I would have to wait in the hallway. And of course, in my business, I know that kidneys mean fear. And I immediately had to use the bathroom because I was about to see him. And I came out of the bathroom, and Colin and I were standing in the hallway, and he's like, Mom, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And from the elevator to the left, out came a bed, and they were wheeling this person down the hall. And before he even got to us, I turned to Colin and said, that's your brother. That's Mitchell. And he said, no, it's not. That doesn't, as he got closer, he said, that's not Mitchell. He said, yes, that's Mitchell. So I followed them into the room, and sure enough, it was my son Mitchell. And from there, I just took a deep breath, and I stepped out of mama mode and got into healing practitioner mode, and I had brought all of my tuning forks, and I had brought cypress oil, one of the essential oils I brought. I dumped half of it on his head. And 2 days later, they told me the 39 bleeds that he had in the brain were stopped. And when I asked them if they knew how, they said, no, we don't know how. So it was a very, very long road. Without going into any more major detail other than the miracles that happened, his spine, they were going to put the Harrington rods. I don't know if anyone on here knows what Harrington rods are, because every single vertebrae in his spine was broken. And they took him into surgery, and they said it's best to do it now while he's on life support. 20 minutes later, they came out and they said, you didn't have to do it. And I said, what do you mean? And they said, every single vertebrae in his spine fell into place. Praise God. So October 2022, I brought him back here and placed him in neurorestorative, and he's walking, he's talking. Took him to Amen Clinics and had brain scan done there, and he's missing, at the time he was missing about 45% of his brain. And miracles, just miracles. The fact that he's walking, talking, you know, his thalamus was shifted in his brain, so he perseverates a lot and stutters. He gets very angry and out of control behaviorally, but then he can be like a child again. I actually talked to him just before this call, and he's been pretty angry lately. And when I talked to him for the first time in months, he said, I love you, Mom. And he said, this day. So when I met you and you gave me that micro daily, I was suffering from, oh boy, focus issues, brain fog. I wanted to sleep all the time. I was falling asleep doing my studies. I was having to repeat classes over and over again just to get it down, spending a lot more time than I normally would. And during that year, I had also gone through a divorce and also almost lost my oldest son, because even though he was kind of set off in the shadows, he suffers from addiction, and he spiraled out of control after Mitchell's accident. So it was just a whole lot to take on. And I was really kind of at my wit's end when I met you. And I've been taking that micro daily. I've been taking the Core 4 and the digestive boost. And the difference, I'm sleeping. I'm not waking up with nightmares. I am remembering without having to write 50 million Post-it notes. I passed my quantum physics exam last month, so that was a major. So, you know, it's been life-changing for me. And Dr. Prasad, as much as I can thank Dr. Kort every day, I don't get to talk to you every day. So I just, from the bottom of my heart, it has gotten me through. And I feel like I'm back on track again.
Thank you. Your son takes it, or no, he doesn't take it?
Unfortunately not. He is back in New York. He went back to New York in June of this past June. Actually a month before the year anniversary date of the accident. And I haven't had a whole lot of contact with him, unfortunately.
How about your other son, which has some addiction issue? Because this kind of program that we have can help.
Yes.
and they help in
Yes.
addiction, getting craving for. We know why addiction occurs, and these products can help him
Mhm.
get rid of addiction gradually. So maybe you can try to convince him that
Yes.
it's not for your addiction, it's just for your health. Might take it, and then he will see the results, and then he will be happy. I
Well,
don't
Mary-
know.
Yeah, I talked to him today. Yes.
Mary has 5 sons, so that ought to be 5 new affiliates in the business part of it. How to lighten this up a little bit, but because I've got tears streaming down my face at your story, Mary. Thank you so much.
No, and I also
But-
have written a paper on opiate addiction. And if you need to, I will be glad to send to, or maybe you already have it, I don't know, Joanette. But I have written where I explained that how micronutrient, how oxidative stress and inflammation is involved in damaging the receptor, and how it can protect the receptor, and therefore you don't have any more cravings for this. So it will be worth trying it. Nobody has tried in human in terms of clinical study, but what we know why addiction occurs, which receptors are involved, and how it can help, I would say that supplementation with Kort 4 that we have would be very, very important.
Yes. Yes. Dr. Prasad, do you know about the diamond shape when you scan a brain that shows that that's a sign of severe PTSD?
I
When
don't
they
know structurally, but PTSD, I don't know the imaging of brain, but I know why PTSD occurs and what are the factors which will continue to progress gradually and become more severe and severe. And PT, in addition to oxidative stress and inflammation, in PTSD also is excessive release of glutamate is involved. And not only release you, then make you hyperactive and full of anxiety, but also once you accumulate in your outer space of the neuron, and then it can cause toxicity of neurons. So you can cause gradually damage neuron as well. And so the program that we have, if you take Kort 4, plus the CBD, they can help great deal in terms of improving. Because generally you see, for example, collagen peptides, you see that it is not going to help anything to brain.
Mhm.
But here's the problem. The 30% of your protein is a collagen in your body. 30% of your body protein is collagen. And one of the major function of collagen is to maintain the structural integrity of heart, of your brain, so you don't shrink or anything. Structural integrity remain. But if you start losing collagen, if you're losing from a skin, probably you are gradually losing from brain, from heart, every place. And that can alter the structural integrity of the organs, and that can interfere with their function. So collagen peptides for those kind of events are also very extremely important to have that.
Very good.
Dr. Prasad, on that note, I was just thinking, what an amazing call. But I was just asked yesterday about somebody that was in kidney failure on dialysis. And I said, well, we need to do Kort 4 +1 with the enzymes. But then I started thinking, I wonder, I need to ask Dr. Prasad about the collagen with somebody that's in active dialysis. Is that something we do or something we don't do?
No, I think that will be okay. Collagen.
Okay. Well,
Only
Mary,
place I said no, collagen is not recommended if you have a cancer. And the main reason is because normally your immune system cells what is called a lymphocyte tumor killing cells so that they can kill tumor cells. But what a collagen peptide does is block the migration, so you cannot enter into the tumor. And therefore tumor continue to grow because there are no inhibitory killer cell is coming to them. And so this is amazing function that somebody has studied it. And so I said, no, don't take collagen peptide if you have a cancer, because it will block the migration of a tumor killing cell from the immune system to the tumor sites.
well, there you have it, Mary. You know who you need to take care of now.
Yes.
Yes,
And
Joanette.
I wanted to say this also about the collagen, Dr. Prasad, is that the glycine. So a lot of people that have PTSD have a lot of problems sleeping and insomnia. And so when I was pulling that up, even though it was indirect, there is research out there with 4 grams, which would be 2 scoops of your patented collagen, which is in the core 4. And very few collagens are patented. It's the only one that I know of that is patented. 2 scoops morning and night is about 4 grams. And we are actually seeing people get restorative sleep and start healing. So it could be another mechanism, Dr. Prasad, where they're really deficient in that glycine, and
Sure.
will help them be able to get the restorative sleep.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pull up
Wow.
I'm going to pull up the core 4 real quick for everyone so we can see what they should take. Let me see where
This
here.
has been an incredible call. And
So hang on a second, Dr. Kort. Dr. Prasad, will you please go over these really quickly? The core 4 for PTSD.
Yes.
Okay. And then I'll pull up the CBD when we're done.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the core 4 plus CBD would be perfect. And also, if he's an older person, then I would recommend digestive enzyme as well.
so core 4 plus 2.
Plus 2, yeah. For PTSD, that's correct.
All righty.
And there are no medication contraindications.
No,
on this
no,
call.
no, not
Okay, for
at all.
everybody on here.
Because the PTSD, one of the things that they give first is a serotonin reuptake inhibitor. They also do some kind of psychological, like a Zoloft.
Zoloft.
Yeah, Zoloft, and some other kind of, prescription drug, but it does not interfere because they don't. You after a while, you will not. Doctor will say you don't need it. You are okay, so just get rid of. But you don't do on your own, so it does not interact adversely with any medication that doctor has recommended.
Very good.
Woo!
Woo!
Wow. So Dr. Prasad, I want to thank you and Miss Mary for sharing your story. Talk about trauma, PTSD, burrito. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Man.
it's a lot of it.
And
But
it is surprising that people are not paying especially veterans. We will have a veteran night on Saturday morning and Saturday evening, and but I don't know how to spread the message that this could be another good example. Probably I have given you of PTSD before even tested the military. It was just beginning, so we were going to testify before the Congress and to get some more money on specifically for PTSD research with micronutrient. And so one young gentleman, about maybe 35, 36 year age, fully informed, and we were waiting for the congressman to come on the corridor, and he said, "What you guys are doing?" I said that we are going to testify on PTSD. So he said, "Can I sit down?" I said, "Oh, you are welcome." After an hour, came out, he said, "I have a PTSD myself. I used to be very pleasant with my wife. He used to own a car dealership in New Mexico. And he said, I was very pleasant before. Now I'm very unpleasant with my coworker. And so do you think it can help me? Because I testified before the Congress that how it is important that it can help. I said, well, we have not tested in humans, can't tell you. So I asked my CEO, at that time it was a different company. And he said, okay, send him for 3-month supply. And after 3 months, he wrote a 4-page handwritten paper that how surprised he was. He is now very pleasant to his wife, pleasant to his coworker, and shared this to another 6 of his buddy, and they are equally happy to get that. At that time, we just had my original micro daily formula. We didn't even have tested it as that. But at that time, based on the way I prepared it, I was thinking about it, how to reduce oxidative stress and inflammation. So that's another story, not as good as Shiloh, but still it is saying that how important it is for people who are suffering either from PTSD or with traumatic brain injury, where actually we did the experiment in veterans, and so got a very positive results. And so I think it is, I don't know, you guys are better than you, how we can reach more and more veterans. That's, you know, a veteran organization like Sunshine, she is very effective in that area, and Cell could be another very important person to penetrate that population.
Well,
You have
we'll
my word, Dr. Prasad, you have my word.
I know you
working
and
on this.
Janet are
We're
working.
working on it and
Yes,
we
because
will.
VA would not do it, because VA will say, until you get approval from FDA, then they don't touch it. So,
Well, we'll be in Shiloh, Harris, and Dr. Shirley and Miss Mary will have a large group in Tyler, Texas, where there are thousands of veterans that'll be share this
and
information.
that will spread. That once they start getting benefit in a 100, say for example, right now we have a few cases, but they get hundreds or thousands, then it will, everybody will notice it.
Yes. So November 26th and 27th, that'll be in Tyler, Texas, with our Purple Heart recipient, Shiloh Harris will be there with, we'll share more about that story, but
Yeah, we have more next week.
we do.
Welcome.
So let me see, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We went over about 5 minutes. Sorry, everybody, but I have to just say, Dr. Prasad,
Thank you.
you know
Thank you.
what? You're on fire. I mean, like you really are. And your body of work, the multi-micronutrient approach that you wrote about in your textbooks, that you wrote about in your papers, you know, it's in here. And now you can be able to communicate that. And we also have a patent for veterans.
Yeah.
Right? There's a patent.
We have
on
a
that.
patent for veterans. We now have a patent on the children's formula as of a week or so ago.
Yeah.
We have a patent on the collagen, and we still have a few more patents. And, you know, it astounds me when I talk about these presentations and I say, just this one little formula.
Open it up and show everybody, Dr. Kort.
One little formula has $24.5 million in research. Because of Dr. Prasad going to Congress or to the Department of Defense 17 times, which means 16 no's, or maybe see you next week. And then he goes to Congress and for another 17 times. And then he has to write a 60-page grant. And he gets the funding of $12.5 million, and then another 11 million. And then to do 6 years of research on the formula, this formula, to prove all these miracles that we're seeing. You know, Dr. Prasad, it just must be so amazing to go home and sit back and just go, I've done well.
Yeah.
Okay. We are so grateful to you. I know everybody on this call is so grateful. And I'm sure there were people on this call that were like, dang, I should have invited some other people. So next week, make sure you invite your friends, because it's going to be even better. Thank you. Go ahead, Jet.
Okay.
It's Monday, correct? Jet, next
What?
week is Tuesday.
The next week, the Optimal Longevity Series is on Monday. It's every Tuesday, but it's next Monday because corporate is having a big call on Tuesday night. And so they asked me if I wouldn't mind moving it. And I said, of course. So next Monday night, we will be discussing addictions, and we have an amazing testimony, and you won't want to miss it. Okay. And if you want to see other Optimal Longevity series, you can watch them on YouTube under Team Serve. And lastly, whenever you see this, whether it's live tonight or in the future, get back to the person that put you on this call and say, I'm ready to get started so I can get help from my PTSD. Just like you got to hear from Shiloh Harris tonight and from Mary Sunshine tonight. But really, it's Dr. Prasad's body of work that this is safe, and it's actually going to deliver results and help you out there that are suffering. So with that, why don't we go ahead and unmute and thank Dr. Prasad, and we'll close out the call.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
Thank you, sir.
Testimonies.
Thank you, Joanette.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Dr. Prasad.
All you guys.
That's nice. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Next week,
Joanette. Thank you, Dr. Kort.
Thank
Great call.
you. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you, Mary Sunshine.
Good
Thank you,
night.
Shiloh. Thank you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Prasad.
Good night.